FEMA Region 1 has been increasing the culture of preparedness throughout New England by collaborating with our 6 state partners to bring their representatives as well as 2 of their colleagues from each state together recently in a disaster preparedness summit.
FEMA has been a critical partner of the Red Cross in this effort, really primarily through their network. We partner with FEMA to get the word out about our preparedness programs, especially in months like September, which is National Preparedness Month, so that we can reach more people and make more households safer.
Disasters begin and end locally in the state. Those people who know the people in the local communities, those people who know and are neighbors, are usually the first on scene and the first capability to assess and respond and also prepare the communities for disaster.
CERTs can work at community events such as we have an art festival that hosts like 100,000 people, and they are able to assist with parking, and they're just walking around for situational awareness. They've worked 5K races in the state where they can help do like MedPod distribution practice where they're handing out water and sometimes standing with police officers in intersections and doing traffic control.
If you're trying to recruit volunteers that are part of the millennial generation or Gen Z, you're going to be using very different strategies than you would use if you were trying to recruit volunteers from an older generation. Every generation is different, but there's actually quite a few similarities between Gen Z and millennials. One of those being that a heavy use of technology, heavy reliance on technology. So if you are recruiting for volunteers and you don't have a social media page, if you're not using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, you're falling behind and you're going to be less attractive to these volunteers that are coming from this generation. If you have volunteer opportunities that allow these folks to work with individuals either through like mentoring or tutoring or education or doing construction projects or projects that involve them doing a lot of different things, that's going to be more attractive than having them sit down at a table and make thank you notes for local retirees.
I think the 6 state preparedness summit was a unique opportunity because it was a blue sky day or series of days where we all came together and we put preparedness front and center in our constituencies. And we had a great dialogue about how we can work better together on behalf of the states and promote preparedness, not only in National Preparedness Month in September, but throughout the year.
In the early years, 11 years ago, emotional and spiritual care, that phrase, or even disaster chaplaincy, was something that not a lot of people knew about or understood. And the whole landscape has changed substantially as people realize more that, from the early days of getting roads cleared and power back on and people out of shelters, that's great, but there's still a whole lot of internal issues, psychological, mental, emotional, and even in their spirit, that they still need to work through and need support for that. And disaster chaplaincy is one of the pieces of that puzzle to help restore the inside of people towards their resiliency.
Since Hurricane Irene, the Vermont Disaster Recovery Fund has been used multiple times. Hurricane Sandy followed. We also had we tend to get more localized flooding or disasters. So yes, it's an active fund. It's a very active fund. We presently have a reserve of about $2 million in the account. Some of the ways that we use the fund, it would include typically when we go in and assess a home, we can't help everything. The new norm is really what we're trying to achieve, and that would be to help the basics. Can we make it livable? Furnaces, for example, are one of the most common things that we replace. Electrical systems and other construction, typical construction where mold has come in. We've done mold remediation. We've now done reconstruction, and we've paid for that. We'll pay up to $20,000 per customer or client to assist them to get back on their feet.
We don't often have the opportunity to have every state represented in a preparedness summit. And the commitment that the state directors made to provide their staff members and representatives from 2 other critical agencies from each state was very important. And we had an energized, informed collaboration of people who are the boots on the ground for disasters. And FEMA's part in that was we provide the connective tissue and the capability to bring them together as a whole.